Thank you so much for joining us to talk about some tips for using the mobile optimized USA Learns website, which is located at usalearns.org. I'm Andrea Willis, Director of Internet and Media Services and USA Learns at the Sacramento County Office of Education. And my team built and continues to maintain USA Learns, and I always love chatting with people about it and teaching people how to use this resource. And it's my pleasure today to present with Elisa. And Elisa, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. We're in California. My name is Elisa Takeuchi. I'm a beginning literacy ESL teacher in Garden Grove, California, Southern California, close to Disneyland.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I always love when I can present with Elisa because she really brings that real live teacher perspective to the presentation. Okay, so we'll be covering a few topics today. I'll give you a quick overview of the USA Learns website. I'll share with you some information about some new things that have happened recently, with the main one being that the website has recently been rebuilt to be use responsive design, and now it works on phones. And this is a huge deal for us. It's something we've wanted to do forever. And this project was made possible by a generous grant from the Dollar General Literacy Foundation. So thank you to them. And we'll also share with you some tips for teachers on how to use the site. Okay, so some quick usage statistics. USA Learns has had more than 2 billion web pages viewed, and more than 16 million visitors have come to our site to learn English and prepare for US citizenship and learn job skills. And when people come, they stay for quite a while. On the average, they stay for about 22 minutes, which is a really long time in website time, which is kind of like dog years, I guess. And it's been visited by every single country in the world. One thing I want you to know is the website is 100% free. There is absolutely nothing on this site that we charge for. And another thing I think is important to realize is this website was designed specifically to teach language skills to adults, and that makes it pretty special in my opinion. Okay, we have several English courses. We have First English course, English 1+, Second English course, and Practice English and Reading. And they kind of span low beginning to high beginning, ESL, and go up through intermediate level. We also have a relatively new course called Skills for the Nursing Assistant. It's beginning high to intermediate low, and it teaches communication skills for on the job. And we also have the USA Learns Citizenship course, which is truly near and dear to my heart. It's high beginning to low intermediate level. And what I love about this one is that it helps learners prepare for all aspects of the naturalization interview, including those difficult N400 questions. Okay, a couple more things you should know about the site. There's a learner site, which is located at usalearns.org. And that's where your learners will obviously go to study our courses. And a little pro tip, that's also where you as a teacher would go if you want to kind of preview the curriculum. So you would create yourself a student account. Another thing is there's also a teacher site, which is at usalearns.org/teacher. And that's where you would go to create your own free courses based on the USA Learns content. And that's where you also can get your class key and invite your learners to join your USA Learns class. And you can monitor their progress, see their scores, see time spent, number of attempts, that kind of thing. There's some nice reporting in there that's really user-friendly, and I think teachers like that. Okay, so you might be wondering, why did you guys do this rebuild? Well, when we originally designed USA Learns, iPhones did not even exist. So at that point in time, when we were planning this out, there was, getting online on your phone wasn't even a thing. And so, but today we have more than 45% of our visitors are arriving on a mobile device. And one thing we know is that many learners only have a phone to get online and to study. And before the rebuild, the user experience that our phone users were having, I'm sure was very frustrating for them, but they were definitely doing it anyway, even though it had to be kind of annoying. We had a high bounce rate for those folks arriving on a phone, and the bounce rate, as you may know, it's basically if someone arrives to your homepage and then they just leave and they don't actually engage in the site, that's a bounce. And bounces are bad. We want people to arrive and come in and learn some things, right? And those phone users also stayed on the site for far less time and visited far fewer pages than the desktop users. And that for us means they learned less, right? So we wanted to remedy that with this rebuild. So that's one reason why we were so excited about having that chance. So I mentioned the term responsive design. So what is that? Okay, so it's a web development approach that automatically changes the appearance of a website depending on the screen size and the orientation of the device being used. And I'll share with you from a technical development perspective, it was a big, big job. For example, each of our activity templates, we had to build basically 6 versions of every page. You know, if you're on a desktop, if you're on a tablet, if you're on your phone this way or the phone's this way. So anyway, it was a big job, but totally worth it. Okay, so let me share with you some examples of what the site looked like kind of before the rebuild and after the rebuild. So this is a sample of what it looked like before on phones. You see this, the activities getting kind of cut off on my phone. And so I would have to scroll over to the right and see the whole activity, which that's just annoying. But now we're doing some nice resizing of things depending on the device. And here's another example. This is a multiple choice question where we're seeing an image on the left and an activity on the right, and you'll see the questions are being cut off, right? So you'd have to scroll over there, and the text was kind of small, and those radio buttons were really tiny, and you had to be careful with your big fat finger to push the right button. So now, after the rebuild, we're doing some cool things. We're stacking, right? We're putting the image on the top, bigger buttons. Now, instead of radio buttons, we have large buttons. You just can click on that answer option. Okay, another little thing I'll point out is that some activities just work better when the phone is, you know, in landscape mode as compared to portrait mode. So, and I think writing is the main activity that comes to mind. So whenever your learners arrive to a writing activity, they're going to see an image that looks like this, and we give them a helpful little graphic in case the English is tricky, you know, rotate your phone. So they rotate their phone and now they can do the activity. All right, so let's check out a few things on the site. So here I am on our recently rebuilt homepage, which, you know, you'll see it looks similar, but it has a kind of a more current look, which we were excited about. If this were my first time here, and it's not, I would click on this big red Start Now button to register as a student. And so one thing I'll point out to you that's new is we added this nice little security piece down at the bottom. It's a simple math problem, 1 + 5 =, and here I'm going to type my answer, and that's just a part of the registration piece. Okay, but let's go ahead and sign in. I'm going to sign in using my student account information. And here I am on the My Home page, which again looks similar, but a little refreshed, right? So this is where you'll see a list of all the courses that we have. And one thing I'll point out on here that's a little different, if you're used to how the site was before, you know, when you're a teacher and you give your students that class key so that they can register in your class, this is where your students will find that Enroll in My Teacher's Class button. We moved it up to the top instead of being on the right. Okay, so let's just, we're gonna just pop in and I'm gonna just show you a few quick little things in here in the first English course. So here we are on the unit menu, and you'll notice we have 20 units in this one. Starts with first English class and the classroom, et cetera, et cetera. Today we're gonna just take a peek into celebrations. And here we are on the lesson menu. We've got the introduction and vocabulary. We've got some language practice, more vocabulary. And today we're gonna look at language practice 2. Okay, so in this lesson, the students in this adult education class that's in the video, they're planning a party for their friend because it's her birthday. And so while I'm here on this page, I'll show you. So this is the status column. So if a box is filled in blue, it means the student completed it. White means they haven't started it. And if it's half blue and half white, that means they've done some of it, but not all of it. All right, so let's just look at a few little activities in here in inviting people to a party. So Maria is going to call her friends. Okay, so here we are, and I can click the read text button to see the words that she's going to say. I'm going to fast forward so you don't have to watch
Maria
the whole
wants
thing.
to have.
Let's see if I can just get a little closer to where she's actually going to start talking. I think she's at about there. Hopefully you can hear that.
Hello?
Hi, Gaston. It's Maria. Can you come to my party?
When is it?
February 28th.
February 28th. Yes, I can.
Great. Goodbye.
Bye.
We'll watch just one more little bit here.
Hello?
Hi, Jerry. It's Maria. Can you come to my party?
When is it?
February 28th.
No, I can't. Sorry.
That's too bad. All right, then I hit the next button. And here we have a nice little grammar activity. And I'm going to hit the menu button and go back one level. And then I want to show you a new thing. It's a new way that we're handling the writing, such as in dictation and spelling activities. So here we're supposed to use these words to write the sentence. So I have to select listen.
Clean the house.
Okay, now the new thing is it used to be that learners would type on the lines themselves, but now we actually have them typing in this blue box. Okay, so let's see here. I am going to clean the house. Okay, and then I hit check. And we're picky graders on here, right? It's a computer, so it's either right or wrong. So I go ahead, I see red, and I see red where I made a mistake. So let me just clean the house. I'm going to fix my mistakes in the blue box down below. I check. I get 1 star because I got it right on my second try. All right. So I think, Elisa, that was the piece I was going to show for them, right? Let's see here. But wait, there's more. So you might be wondering, so have these changes, has this rebuild been helping our mobile learners? And we've been anxiously watching the Google Analytics to see how that's going. And so far, it looks like it is helping. I compared these most recent 3 months since the rebuild with the prior 3 months, and the mobile user sessions are up about 48%. They're spending about 35% longer learning, which we love that. Pages per session up 41%, so they're staying on, they're doing more pages, and the bounce rate has gone down about 14% for those folks so far. So we're very, very much excited to keep watching those stats. All right, so that is my part of the presentation, and now I'm going to drive for Elisa. And it's been great because Elisa helped us with testing the rebuild with her learners. And she recently started using this new version of the site with her learners, and I think she has some nice tips for us. So Lisa, you're up.
Thanks so much, Andrea. So good morning, everybody, or good afternoon to some of you. Again, my name is Elisa, and I teach beginning literacy ESL students. And during the pandemic, of course, everybody was remote. And I had started using USA prior to that. So when my students were in class and we were using them on our Chromebooks. And then when our school shut down and when everybody was remote, I was still continuing to use it with my students remotely, but I also had so many new students, and so I had to get them on board as well. And so I just wanted to kind of give you some information from my perspective of things that I've either noticed or experienced throughout my time using this, just to kind of give you some guidance if you're thinking about using it or you haven't, you're excited to start using it soon. So I want you to know, first off, that there's no pressure to use everything that USA Learns offers. It's very comprehensive and there's a lot of great tools, but it can be a little bit overwhelming, especially when we're trying to learn so many new tech tools all the time. So students have a choice of either using USA Learns independently, or they can also study on their own asynchronously, but with you as their teacher in a classroom. And I'll explain a little bit about the differences of those in just a second. I also wanted to talk to you about how to create an atmosphere so that students are successful when they are working independently. And as you all know, if you're an ESL instructor, any instructor, you'll want to do a lot of pre-teaching beforehand, get them started, and then hopefully when they're on their own at home or waiting in the bus or, waiting at line, that they're able to just open up the website and use it on their own flawlessly. And so that's one of the really, really nice things about the new rebuild, is that students really can see the difference between what it used to look like as an app and now when they go straight to the website. Everything that they do on the computer, if that's what they're choosing to do in class, it looks exactly the same on their phone, and all the information also carries over. So that's really great too. So what I do is that anytime I'm introducing either to a new student or maybe a new chapter, I'm always going through it with my students. And for my particular case in California, I am teaching what's called high flex. And what we describe that as 5-flex is that I have students in class and in Zoom at the same time. So I'm doing simultaneous instruction. So I'm primarily using Zoom to demonstrate how to log in, how to do the registration or the actual unit to all of my students at the same time. We're going over what to expect. And then at the end, when they go home for homework, then they can hopefully do this independently. I always try to have the students do the registration process anytime there's some sort of create an account or some sort of registration. Because my students are beginning literacy, I want them to try to do it on paper first. So I have created some sort of handout or printout or on a Google form what it's going to look like so that they can fill it out and I can check it prior to them actually going to the site and registering, so that it's a seamless transition from on the paper or on some sort of digital notebook into the actual site. So then they're going to register and they're not going to have any problems with errors. I also can take that information and give them the class code, and I can see instantly who has joined the class. Even if I saw them register, some of them may not have clicked that enroll in my class. And so I can show them, oh, I see you're on USA Learns, but you're not in my class yet. Don't forget to do the class key. So that's kind of one of the nice features of the teacher site, and that I can monitor my class roster. Students also study asynchronously, and we do this in collaboration with our textbooks. So we use 2 different publisher textbooks. And what I do as the teacher for prep is I find the units in our textbook that correlate with the units in USA Learns, and I meld them together so that they're using USA Learns as an addition to and as a supplement to our core textbook. Also, that also applies to EL Civics, if any of you understand what EL Civics is, for WIOA funding. I can check their progress as a teacher if I have a teacher account and they are enrolled in my class, and I can see the time that they've spent. I can see what unit they're on, if they've completed it, and whatnot. And then also in my class, I have many students who come through and they're learning English through us, but then they're also trying to learn English because they're at some point want to turn in their application for citizenship. And so if I kind of hear through that, or if we're doing a needs assessment and I see that one of their needs is that they want to get their citizenship, I can easily recommend the USA Learns course, because it starts them from the beginning. It goes through the whole segment of the process of getting a US citizenship, from the application to the interview to studying for the questions. And so many of my students just do that completely on their own. Next slide, Andrew. So I just wanted to show you a look of what a student roster could look like. So this is actually my class. And you can see the students' names are on the left. They would have their email addresses, or, where it's all blocked out. And then it shows when did they enroll in the course. And then the most important one for me is when did they last access the course. So I can see some students have accessed it very recently, and so they're continuing to work on it. And some of them maybe not so much. Either they have forgotten about it, or they're too busy, or things like that. And that's okay, because I can now go through and I can kind of gently nudge them and say, hey, don't forget, practice USA Learns. Even if I don't assign it as homework, then you can always practice it on your own. And if you notice at the very, very bottom, the student, she doesn't have a last access. that means that she has created an account, she has registered for my class, but she hasn't done anything yet. So she is a fairly new student. So I would remind her that, hey, don't forget to go ahead and start your class. Go ahead and next slide. So I want to give you some tips for asynchronous instruction. And I wanted to let you know that there are it's twofold. So all the units can be done independently, like I said, either by themselves without a teacher or a classroom, or they can also be done independently with a teacher in a classroom. And so some of the units that I have melded together with our textbook work perfectly. There's grammar points that are the same, the theme is the same, the vocabulary is fairly the same, but then there's some other units that really didn't fit anywhere. And so what I do is I highlight those units and say, if we have a long weekend, or if you want to study more, use these units, because I don't really want them to move forward in a unit that we're going to be doing in the future. So I do have some extra units for them to practice on their own if they want, and many of them do. I always go through a routine with the students in that we start the unit, we do it together, and then we do some work as pair. The students get together with pair. I want to engage them in an activity that they are working with another person in the class, either in a breakout room or in the classroom in a group, to talk about the vocabulary and some of the concepts, maybe the grammar. And then from there, we are moving on to USA Learns, and then they will do their work independently, come back to their partner, that same partner or group or breakout room, and continue to work on a prompt. And how does it compare? So with USA Learns and our published textbook, how did the vocabulary compare? Or what words did you see in the same? Or what vocabulary, what grammar point was the same? So they're always continually supporting both the textbook and the USA Learns with their partner to demonstrate understanding. As we are building the skills. So again, this is beginning literacy. So everything is slow, slow, slow. It's repeat, repeat, repeat. It's very step by step. So we are starting, so I am just starting week 9. I just finished week 9, and we're just starting to delve into Google Slides. And some of my students that were in my remote class previously, we had done Google Slides, it was not a problem. But for all my new students, we really want to build up their digital navigation skills. And so we are going back to very, very simple slides, and I am going to promote how they are going to work together with their partner. And so we also use Google Forms. I do use Google Forms every day with them with a daily check-in. So they're very familiar with Google Forms. We could use Jamboard if we're in Zoom. That will probably be in the future. Padlet again, and then Flipgrid we actually did use during remote instruction during the pandemic. So my students do actually feel comfortable with Flipgrid. So as time is going by, I'm able to give students a choice in how they want to demonstrate their understanding. Some of them like presentations, some of them like making a video, some of them want to do a Google form. And so for me to empower them into giving them choices, then it allows them to feel more successful and to build their own path of how they learn. Next slide. So I just wanted to show you a very quick, just a really quick overview of how maybe I would do one of my lessons. And this is using the same unit that Andrea had talked about earlier. And so it just happened to be that in my 2 different textbooks, one is about family and the other one is about daily routines, but they both happen to have a little picture about a party. So I decided to use both of those pictures to talk about having a party, which really correlates with the USA Learns. So next slide. So what we do is after we have learned our information from the textbook, I have opened up a Google Slides. And like I said, I'm a little bit more focused right now because it's still new. I have created a slide for 2 students each slide. So as you can see, Irene and Tien are partners. So I have kind of forced the partnership. And what they do is they open up the slides and they find their names and they know who their partner is. And what they do is they get together and now they're going to create a list. So they are going to have a party and who do they want to invite? And so the question is, can you come to my party? And as you can see, their typing skills still need some work, or, the punctuation still needs some practice. And I just let it go for right now because I really want to just get their ideas on the slides. The idea right now is the focus of the digital part of it. So they created their little list, and they have like some students, and they asked the students in a totally different group, can you come to my party? And some of them said yes, some of them said no. And then we also have a married couple, so they actually got to practice the yes, they can. So again, it really ties in and correlates exactly with the grammar points that USA Learns practiced. Now that they've gotten together and gotten on their slides, we go into USA Learns, and I've shown them through Zoom, through presentation, sharing my screen, how the unit will work. And what they're going to do now is that the focus is they're going to watch that video that Andrea had showed earlier, and they're going to focus listening on who did Maria invite. And so on the next slide, they go back to that same slide, they have their list, and now they have Maria's list. So they listened that Maria invited Gaston, he can go, and Jerry said, no, he can't. And again, so it's really tying this information together so that it's a full circle, and it's not just some activity that I'm doing just to have them do it. Next slide. And then the same thing, so in that unit, there's also a to-do list. So again, Irene and Tien, they made a to-do list. If they're going to have a party, what do they need to do to prepare for the party? And then they kind of made some, a list. I just told them to make 3 or 4 things. Next slide. When they go into the USA Learns, they're watching the video, they're learning the information. And then the next slide. And again, they came back, and this is Maria's list. And I asked them to say, hey, did you have anything that was the same? Was your list, what was the same for your list and Maria's list? And then these two happened to just highlight it in purple. And again, it didn't matter to me how they showed me, but I wanted them to demonstrate that they understood that there could be some similarities. Next slide. One of the best things that has happened with USA Learns during the rebuild, Andrea was asking me kind of a wish list, and I said, well, if I'm going to shoot for the stars, this is what I'm going to do. I would really love it if students could get a certificate after they finish a full course. So English 1 is 20 units. So after they have completed all 20 units, and I set the standard for 80% and above on their sessions, then they would be qualified to get a certificate. And I couldn't believe how many students really went for it, and they really tried hard to get that certificate. And some of them have used it for employment. They take it to an interview, and they show them that, yes, I'm learning English and I've completed some of these skills, and this is the certificate that I had received. So that's definitely been one of the best benefits of the rebuild, at least for my students in my class.